Hi and welcome to this week's Happy Hour. So Friday, October 10th is World Mental Health Awareness Day. So this week I want to talk about the research around meditation in the treatment of mental illness. I've spoken in the past about the more generic research around benefits of meditation, and that includes improving mood and reducing stress. Now, this is more specifically in the context of undiagnosed mental illness. So for some background, in 2024, 42.9% of Australians had reported that at some point in their lives they'd experienced a mental illness. And 1 in 5 had experienced a mental health condition in the previous 12 months. So it's a big proportion of our community who at some point in their lives will experience a mental health challenge. And this is above and beyond the ups and downs of everyday life. For my own personal experience, while I was pregnant with my youngest, I had a fairly significant back injury with a really long recovery time. And after the birth, I went through a period of postnatal anxiety, depression. And as part of my treatment for that condition, I was introduced to meditation in the form of Yoga Nidra. And that's really what got me started on the path of learning more and more about meditation, because it was such a useful tool to help me to get back into the sensations of my body without triggering a fight or flight response. And so one thing led to another. Now I teach. So while there is a lot of research that's being done in this area, and the general consensus is that for many, but not all conditions, meditation can play a role in the treatment. And there's some moderate evidence, particularly for anxiety and depression, that meditation can help relieve the symptoms, and also for psychological stress and distress. Now, there are obviously limitations to the research. It's fairly new. Some of the sample sizes are small, and it's not instead of, I guess, more established treatments like CBT. But while many people would see meditation as benign at worst and generally positive experience, it's not always the case for everyone. So there are some risks around using meditation, particularly in treatment of mental illness, because people can experience, while meditating, adverse effects or adverse events. And generally this presents as a worsening of those anxiety or depressive symptoms or other psychotic episodes, things like that. So a worsening of symptoms. It's usually temporary, but it can be more long-term. It's a small percentage of people, but it's always worthwhile to be aware of that. And there are certain people or groups of people who are more at risk. And these are people who have a history of trauma, particularly childhood trauma. They are much more likely, and not with all types of meditation, but with some types of meditation, to be triggered in their trauma. Also, people with more severe psychological conditions. So if you're a psychosis or schizophrenia or severe bipolar disorder, the more severe your mental illness, the more risk there is of adverse events using meditation. And there's also risk depending on the type of meditation and the intensity of it. So long silent retreats or very unguided or unfocused meditation done independently without support are more risky than doing very straightforward, guided, structured, mindfulness-based techniques with a meditation teacher or with your psychologist if they're trained. So that's really important to consider. So what does that mean in the real world? It means that yes, meditation can be a really great adjunct to treatment for mental health conditions. It's not to replace some of those more established treatment protocols, but it can be a really useful add-on to help with long-term management of mental health conditions. You need to be careful and be monitoring your symptoms to make sure that you're not experiencing any adverse events. So I guess it's important that, particularly if you have trauma or a diagnosed mental illness, that you're not going off and doing this on your own. You should be seeking advice from your health professional, whether that's your GP, your psychologist, or your psychiatrist, depending on who's caring for you or working with you. And then working on a more structured program or working closely with a meditation teacher would be ideal. Using starting small and building up if you tolerate it well. So just something to think about there. I really wanted to be clear that yes, meditation can be fantastic and it can help you to continue to improve your mood and your overall psychological well-being. But you need to be mindful of it, and you need to be working with someone who knows what they're doing, and not jumping straight in and trying to do a week-long silent retreat in the middle of a mental health episode. So I'd be really interested to hear what people think about this. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to get in touch. I'll probably try and do something up, an article on the website with a bit more detail around some of the research, particular conditions, and what types of techniques might be more useful. So keep an eye out on the website, reallifemeditation.com.au, for information on that, or sign up to the email list and I'll always let them know first when something new pops up. So take care of yourself, have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you next week.